Hey there, it's Seb Frey here with another exciting episode of Seb Frey TV. Once again, I'm standing here in an empty house. You can hear the echo. Isn't it beautiful? Doing an open house, and I have the feeling I'm going to have just a few minutes before the next batch of people comes on in here. I'm using my Realtor Spidey sense. It tells me I just have a very small window to get this done. I want to share with you my experience last week attending the Tom Ferry Sales Edge training in San Jose. So if you're a regular civilian, you might not realize this, but there actually are training and coaching organizations out there that help realtors sell more houses, right? So Tom Ferry has what he says is the #1 sales training organization in the United States. I'm not sure where that #1 came from exactly, how you would measure that, but he claims to be the top real estate trainer in North America. And so I was told before I went that the Sales Edge thing is a lot about scripts and dialogues. And, I don't really use scripts and dialogues to my detriment, I feel. I really feel that I should be using them scripts and dialogue, and not to basically be scripted, but basically it's a framework for communicating with people because you want to make sure that you find out X, Y, and Z and let them know what you're going to do, A, B, and C. So I thought it would be good for me to go. And it was interesting. It was 3 days long. It was all day long from 9 to 5. And the second day I took off because I wanted to go see my son play baseball. He'd had a concussion and he was out of baseball for a couple of weeks. So I wanted to make sure I was there his first day back after the injury to root him on and cheer him on. So I bailed early. I didn't really feel I was missing much because they were going over scripts for sale by owners and expireds, and we don't have really much in the way of for sale by owners or expireds in my market. So I thought I could skip that part. The part I really wanted to see was the part about the listing presentation. They have like a 7 or 8 page script for how to do a listing presentation. So I really wanted to be there for that. That was on the last day, and I saw that. That was good. And there were some other realtors there from Santa Cruz, which was cool. Most of the people there were not from Santa Cruz. A lot of them were from San Jose and the Bay Area. But a surprising number flew in from like Colorado, and one guy from North Carolina. I talked to another person from Arizona. So people really came from all over to come to this training, and there were 400 people there. And it's interesting, they call it a training, but it's kind of like it's like an infomercial. It's like a 3-day infomercial to sell you on the idea of hiring Tom Ferry International, or whatever they're called, to teach you how to really get a lot of real estate deals. In fact, there was a lot of that like he wanted to call you like a ninja or like kung fu master or something like that. So there's a lot of like a lot of anchoring type stuff, neuro-linguistic programming, right? Like do this to get yourself into a positive mental state before you like pick up that phone or like do that sales presentation or whatever. But for me, it was kind of just like, you know what? That's not me. I'm not really a kind of a person, right? I mean, like, their methodology was so much about like, hey, you need to be prospecting like 3 hours a day. Like, I know I need to be prospecting 3 hours a day, but you know what? I don't like prospecting 3 hours a day. I really don't like it. I just feel like, they want you to call people, and bug them to see if they're going to, sell their house or buy a house or whatever. And, I personally don't like telemarketers. I don't like when people call me. I don't like to be disturbed. And so I feel there's kind of like an incongruency between like me not liking when people do it to me. So why would it be good for me to do it to somebody else? It just seems like there's like a disconnect right there. And so I'm not really into that whole way of doing business. It was interesting in their program, they were showing you like, okay, well, 42% of your business should come from your database, and like 10% from open houses, and like 10% from expireds, and like 10% from for sale by owners, and like 10% online or whatever. I mean, it was some percentage right around there, but their thing was like the biggest source of business by far they identified was your database. And I'm actually doing coaching right now with Brian Buffini, the Buffini company, and they call themselves also, coincidentally, the #1 real estate sales training organization in the United States. And again, I'm not sure where Brian Buffini gets his numbers, that he's #1. Maybe it's by their active number of people in the coaching program. Maybe it's by dollar volume. I don't really know, but the whole Buffini method is really, it's all database marketing, right? It's like you should really only have like 200 people that you like talk to, and like everybody else, if they're not in that, like group of like people who know, like, and trust you and can refer business to you, like don't bother with it because it's such a hard row to hoe, right? I mean, like the question is, do you want to have a transactional business or do you want to have a business that's based on relationships? Like you have good, high quality relationships with people who know, like, and trust you, who are in a position to talk about you and refer people to you. Do you want that, or do you want to be like, like, hey, I heard your house expired. Hey, you're trying to sell by owner, or whatever, right? I mean, like, just which is your poison? And for me, that's not me. That's not me. I would much rather do business with people that are referred to me by people who know, like, and trust me. So that was my big takeaway from the Tom Ferry thing, was that it's really not for me. Like, I do appreciate the scripts. I wish that Buffini had some scripts. I don't really think they do have any scripts. It's just not their scene. Maybe there's some scripts somewhere. Maybe some Pathways to Mastery. Pathways to Mastery is a product that Buffini sells, which I haven't bought, but it's, I don't know what it is. It's some kind of sales training thing, but I have not read it, so I don't really know what's in it. But I think you can get Tom Ferry scripts for free. So if you're looking for free scripts, you can probably just Google them, Tom Ferry scripts. They're actually based a lot on the Mike Ferry scripts. Mike Ferry is Tom's dad, and Mike Ferry is, he was America's biggest real estate sales trainer for many, many years. So, well, I just want to share with you what I got out of the Tom Ferry thing. I think that for the right person, I think it's a younger demographic. I think like if you're like in your 30s, maybe early 40s, that, the Tom Ferry method of like going out there and like prospecting and like, like really hitting it hard. I think that probably was great. But I think for old timers like me, we're built for comfort, not for speed so much. I think that for most people, most realtors, the average age of a realtor is like 58 or something like that. So for most realtors, I think that the Tom Ferry thing is going to have a little less appeal compared to the, Brian Buffini coming from the heart, method, I think. So well, that was it. Just want to share that with you. So listen, do me a favor. If you would just share this with somebody that you know, like, or trust, or who was thinking about getting real estate training or buying or selling a house, that would be swell. I would really appreciate it. And also give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a comment. It would be super awesome. All right, well, that is it for this episode of Seb Fry TV. Thank you so much for watching, and I will have another episode up again before too long.